Alrighty, welcome to part 2 of this little escapade as we learn a little bit about HTML. Last lesson we were having a look at just building a simple single page website. Today we're going to have a look at 2 ways we can sort of expand on this idea. So step 1, whenever you're starting a project, and especially when you're going to build from a project, a really important skill to do is to file manage well. You'll notice that last time I just checked this index.html in a folder. So I'm actually going to create a new subfolder within here, and this is going to be our first HTML project 1. So I'm just going to call it HTML1. And I'm just going to drag and drop this file into this folder. So I've got a new file. Alrighty, so what I want us to basically do is create a second page. And it's going to be based on the first page, but we're going to have a look. So if you select it, right click, you can go edit with Notepad++, and that'll bring back what we did last lesson right here. And I want to create a second page that's going to go alongside with this first page. So to kind of give it a bit of structure, let's start by just copying what we did. Oh, you'll notice that nothing's really working. I mean, the links are both coming up blue, but apart from that, all of the color coding's gone. That's because it doesn't know that this is a HTML file. This one knows it's a HTML file. This one does not. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and save it. Control S, and it already knows where to put it because I was already saving in here. So Digital Solutions, HTML1, and I'm going to call this one contactus.html. Now you might have an idea of what contactus might be about, but I'll give you a hint. It's a very common page, and most people call it contact us, but for reasons that spaces are in fact very, very evil, we must always make sure that we do get rid of spaces when naming files. There's a few ways you can get around it. I'll show you a couple of them now. Option number 1 is use something that I think is just awesome, which is called Camel Case, which usually looks something along this line. So you just capitalize the start of each word instead of capitalizing just the start of the sentence, if you want to think of it like that. And that way it's just easier to read. Without spaces, you can still see contact us. Each one gets its own hump or capitalization. But anyway, I'm not going to change the capitalization. I'm happy with contact us next to HTML. But currently I've got all of this stuff, which is nothing to do with contact us. So I'm just going to get rid of some of this stuff. I don't need these paragraphs. And then maybe under here, I might change this my biography to contact us. Alrighty, so here we go. And now I've got 2 web pages, and if I go to here, I can open up one, and this was the first website we made. You can see it's my first web page. And then if I open up this one, you can see all of the changes I've made. I've added this contact us dash my first web page. I could even go back now and add maybe a home back to this original one. So, this is the home page for my first website. And if I save and refresh, you'll see that those changes get made. So now what can I start to do is actually to build up a relationship between these 2 pages, right? It'd be really nice, instead of being able to go to the St. Patrick's website, maybe instead it'd be nice to go from this page to this page here. Now, previously we've only been linking things via more direct measures by taking things from the web. But I would like to be able to link 2 things that are both stored locally. Alrighty, so here we have our 2 different ones that we're having a look at. You'll notice these back files are appealing. They're just part of the running and the saving and everything we're doing behind the scenes. Just make sure we're always clicking on these HTML ones. Don't get rid of these. They'll go in due time, so don't stress if you're looking at them going, why are they there? It's fine. Alrighty, so let's create a bit of navigation, right? So to get us between these pages. So I'm going to create a new one. I'm doing this in the contact us page, but whatever I'm going to do here, I'm going to move into the other one as well. So let's create a little nav tag. Now, unlike other tags, this tag doesn't have any information to go with it. A nav tag is a semantic tag, meaning it's just a name. A H2 tag means something. It's going to change the text so that it is slightly bigger and bold. Whereas by just having a nav tag, that's not actually going to do any of those sorts of things. So in this nav tag, I'm going to have two anchor tags. And in the first anchor tag is going to be the home button, and in the second one is going to be the contact us button. So for each of these, they need a href, so they know where to href. So href equals, and this one's also going to need a href equals. And the question is, well, how do I actually reference the home page when I'm in this folder, right? Because this file lives in this folder. Well, the home page is really called index.html. So inside these brackets, I'm just going to type index.html. Now, case matters here, meaning if you've named your home page home.html, if you've named it the best little My Little Pony Club 63.48.html, you need to name it exactly how you've named it here. And any capital letters or symbols or anything, you got to make sure. Shouldn't have spaces in your names. If you've got spaces in your names, you're going to have a bad time. So I'm going to just link these two pages together. So the other one was contact us, contactus.html. Alrighty, and I can save this, and if I refresh the contact us page, you'll see I've now got these two cute little buttons. But, oh, oops, you didn't see that for a second, right? I click on the home page, takes me to the home page. But I can't get back now. And if I click on the contact us page, it just refreshes the page. You can see for a slight second, this blip. But when I click on home, it takes me to the home page, which is what I wanted, but now I can't get back. So I might just copy this little navigation section here and paste it at the bottom of this one here. And now when I refresh this page, you can see I've got the home and the contact us button, and they now work. So I can actually go between my two pages. Not too difficult to do that. It's actually quite straightforward. Alrighty, so from here, we can kind of go a little bit further. So we have this website, it's working, it's functional, but it's not that exciting yet. And I think some of you might have some ideas of how to make it more exciting. One issue is we've got this big white background. Another issue is that we've got this text that's all black. There's a few little things we can do to change things. So one thing we could do is just learn a few more tags. So for example, let's go to my paragraph, and my name is Mr. Kettle, and I think Mr. Kettle is important. So I'm going to add a B tag. Now a B tag is for bold. And so if I bold this, and you can see that I've just got the B tag on either side, and I've got my name in the middle, you might think it might put us on a new line, but it actually won't. This is just a formatting to say, make the text bold. And there's a bunch of these. In fact, you could quickly look up a list of them. In fact, I encourage that you do. If you want to find something, I would suggest looking up W3 Schools and HTML. HTML has heaps and heaps and heaps of stuff you can do with it. These are just some of the basics that we're going through at the moment, but the goal should be eventually to get a pretty good basic grip on a lot of these different ideas as we go through. And there's going to be heaps of them you can have a look through for formatting and italics and subscripts and superscripts. These are a bunch of them. And you can have a look at through examples, and you can have a play around with it as well. I think it's really important that you do have a look through some of this. And I wouldn't even be... And I definitely think that over this week and the next week, you should be looking through the HTML tutorial and just getting to grips with it. But that gives us a little bit more power, but it doesn't give us heaps of power. To get heaps of power, we're going to need to learn a new language. And I know we're 2 lessons in and I'm only talking about 2 languages, but this second language is actually one with it. This really is the language that makes HTML really sing. And this is called CSS. So we're going to have a look at CSS. So I'll put this in the head. This is the comment, you'll remember, so everything inside these brackets won't actually come to the screen. So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. And Cascading Style Sheet is just a fancy way of saying a style sheet. And what does a style sheet do? It changes the style. So let's create a new file and let's call it file save as. And once again, we're going to save it in the same folder we've been working in. And in this case, we're going to call it style.css. CSS because that's the language we're coding in. Style because of conventions. So this is style.css. It's not a very exciting page at the moment, but it's not going to get that much more exciting. So let's take the classic h2 tag and say we want to do something with the h2 tag. This is the syntax. First of all, you specify what tag you want to hit. I want to hit the h2 tag. So that's going to affect any time I use a h2 tag, that's going to affect it. And this is the syntax. So the syntax is quite simple. You go h2, and then you put in some curly brackets, and everything you put inside the curly brackets is your instructions to the h2 tag. It tells it things to do. And all you do is you put attributes and then some kind of value to that attribute. So for example, we could do color. You might go, say you're spelling color wrong. Well, unfortunately, CSS was written by Americans, so we have to use the American spelling of color. Get used to it. And we could specify something like color blue, and then put a semicolon. So a colon to separate the attribute from the value, and then a semicolon to end the line. And now that we've done that, we might go, job done, great job, alrighty, let's refresh the page and see what happens. But of course, nothing's going to happen because we haven't actually linked this style sheet to this page. This page doesn't know the style sheet even exists, so we've got to tell it. So let's go away from style.css and let's jump into index.html, where we're going to add our cascading style sheet, our CSS file. And we're going to learn about a new tag, which is the link tag. And the link tag's job is specifically to link different files together. So in this case, we're going to be linking our style sheet. So first of all, we've got to specify what type it is. And in this case, it is a style sheet. And the other part of it is a href, which we've already learnt about. It's like a location. And since these files live in the same place, well, we can just link to it by typing style.css. Capitalization matters. If you've called it capital S style.css, then it will not link if you do not use the exact same capitalization as as you have used yourself. You can follow my capitalization, it'll be nice and easy. Alrighty, so let's have a look at it now. Sorry, not type, rel, R-E-L. And make sure you've saved both the style and the index page, or there's a cute little handy button up here called Save All. You could just click on that and that'll save all open files. And you can now refresh your page and you'll see that my biography, which was a H2, has now changed the color to blue. So it changed the font color, not the background color. Well, there's a different attribute for that. So let's have a look at that. So we can go background dash, and since we're using Notepad++, it's going to come up with a bunch, but we're going to say background color, colon, and let's say black, semicolon. And we'll see what this looks like. So we can refresh the page and, oh, that's quite atrocious. But, you know, this is the idea. We can start to play around with it. There is a bunch of different attributes that you can play around with. If I want to hit a different one, well, I could say to the h1 tag. Notice it affected the h2 tag, but it didn't affect the h1 tag. So if you want to affect the h1 tag, we type h1, and then you can put in your open and closing curly brackets. The curly brackets, if you haven't found them, are next to your letter P. Next to the square brackets, shift your square brackets. So these are your square brackets. Shift those ones to find your curly brackets. Alrighty, and so for my h1 tag, I could go color, let's make it red. And now this is the website that I've designed, which I'm sure many of you'll agree isn't anything that spectacular. So how do we improve it? Well, we've got to learn about more CSS. Now, CSS is a hugely powerful language. The first thing I'm just going to show you is about colors, and then I'll let you have a play from there. With color and background color, you can make a lot of differences, but there is so much more to be learned about CSS. So let's go through some color information. Currently, the only color options we have are ones that have words. So for example, I can try orange, see if orange exists. And in this case, it does. And now I've got that. And I might like that, but I might not as well. So, and that's fine either way. We're just trying to play around with what we're doing. So now that I've got my beautiful website, I might go, I actually like other colors though. Like what about maybe instead of a black, maybe a gray. And of course, we can just try. Can't remember which gray. Yeah, that's the right. So that's nice, but maybe that's not exactly the shade of gray I wanted. Maybe I wanted a dark gray. And you can try more interesting things like saying, is dark gray a color? I don't know. It's not. Just went back to white. Is it dark gray? Oh, it recognized part of it, but it's not the color I was looking for. So there's a few ways we can talk about it. And the easiest way to do it is using a color hex code. And we've got this one here, HTML color codes. Okie dokie. So here is a website that will let you pick any color. You can use these two sliders to choose your favorite. If you've used anything like Photoshop, you'll be quite familiar with this. I'm going to use the dark side, and I'm going to get something nice and dark. That looks like a nice color. And you'll see that it is decided that that is the hex code hash 3C, 3C, 3C. So I'm going to copy that. And instead of typing in dark gray, hash 3C, 3C, 3C. So that's the color I wanted. That's the color I get. So with hex codes, which are these 6-digit long things with a hash at the start, you'll get a bunch of them. They're called hex because they use a hexadecimal number system, which means that the lowest number is 0 and the highest number is F. You might go, F is not a number, sir, and you'd be correct. But in a hexadecimal system, it is. We just go, well, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What's bigger than 9? You'd say 10. No, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And if you count 0 to F, you'll see that that is hexadecimal, hex meaning 6, decimal meaning 10, 16 different numbers. So we live in a base 10 world, which is why we get 0 to 9. In a hexadecimal world, you get 0 to F. And so this is actually 6 hexadecimal numbers next to each other. That could have been 0 to F, that could have been 0 to F, and so on and so forth. And each of these is going to be totally different colors. So I could just choose a random one. I could go AA33C6, save that, and that's that color. So there's different ways you can play around with it. You can just type in the numbers, or you can play around with this sort of thing. And you'll notice that it sort of is trying to talk to these different numbers over here. You can have a play around with it and see how it looks like. So you can find a nice vomit green. I'll leave those sorts of color options up to you. Once you get bored of playing with colors though, there's a lot more to be learned, and the place to go is W3 Schools. Now professionals use these resources. Why? Because they guide you on how to go through these. These languages are dense. In fact, there are lots and lots and lots of stuff when it comes to CSS. CSS is a very dense language. There's lots of stuff you can do. So it's about learning what you want to do. So with a very few amount of tools in your belt, I will leave you with this beautiful website that we've started to make. One more thing. Sorry, I just thought of last one thing. Is this is great for the index page, but you'll notice when you go to the contact us page, it's not working because we haven't linked these together yet. So let's link these together. Well, let's take this link line we took here, copy that and pop it in the head of the contact us page. And if we do that, refresh this, you'll now see that we get, oh, my bad decisions to have orange, red, and some kind of purple all right next to each other. Hopefully you can build something a little bit nicer than that, but make sure you ever go through and, extra challenge, add a third page. Add a third page. We've only got 2 pages, home and contact us. Add a third page. Make sure it links up, make sure the style sheet's working, and see if you can make it look a little bit nicer than this. If you've got any questions, make sure you ask me, or have a look through the HTML stuff. There's lots and lots of resources in both the HTML and the CSS on W3 Schools. Alrighty, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone.